And we are up.
Okay.
This is the Our Town Podcast, coming to you from the Studio West in Madison, Alabama, off County Line Road. And let me give a shout out to Foul Wow Design. That's the T-shirt I'm wearing. I was over there today, and I went in and talked to Nathan. And I said, listen, I've got a guest tonight that is principally responsible for bringing the Orion Amphitheater, her company, and her, as a team effort, to building out MidCity and one of the premier properties, right? One of the premier attractions that everyone is very happy about that lives in the North Alabama region and even beyond is the Orion Amphitheater. We've talked about the Orion on different episodes. We actually talked to Jonathan Fowler, and he went out to Red Rocks this past year, and he was going to see Dave Matthews at the Orion when he came in, and he went to that show, I think.
Yeah.
And some other shows. But I know, and I'm making an assumption here that my guest loves music. I know she loves music. and so I wanted to buy, and when I saw this shirt, and I've seen it before, the Alabama mix.
I like it.
It reminds me of my boyhood because I preceded CDs, and my first tape, I think, was a Phil Collins tape that I bought, and I think I got overcharged by the clerk at a store called Waxy Maxie's in Tyson's Corner, Virginia.
They gotcha.
They got me, and my sister was like, "How much you pay for that?" I was like, 17. She's like, "Oh, it should have been $8." But that was my first tape, and then later CDs came out, and I got some CDs, and then
I actually recently bought a tape for $5 at a retro market. It was a Madonna tape.
Really?
So literally 2 months ago.
Wow.
So $5.
Was it
Madonna
True Blue?
tape.
Madonna True Blue?
I don't think so. Which one was it?
I love Madonna, by the way.
I saw it. I was like, I had to have it. It was just so cool.
What's
and
your
it
favorite
looks
Madonna
good.
song?
Oh.
Do you have any sleepers in there? Like one of my sleepers is La Isla Bonita.
Wow.
I like that song a lot.
Okay. So we like some Spanish music.
Mm-hmm. Well, or when she sang "Don't Cry for Me, Argentina," when
Yeah.
she was in that movie and all that. Like, wow, Madonna she's talented.
She is talented.
Was talented.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm like very nervous right now.
Oh, don't be nervous. Yeah, don't be nervous. So, so the Alabama mix. That's this shirt.
Perfect T-shirt.
I'm excited to wear it, and I want to let me give another shout out to a guy named Rob Hamilton.
Ooh.
What a guy. I was just talking to him on the phone about an hour ago, getting the studio set up. He's on his way on a business trip, and we were chatting about things. And he was my episode 29. Mm-hmm. And I said, hey man, I gotta go. I've got a podcast. He's like, oh yeah, who do you have on tonight? I said, Nadia. Hold on, I want to try to pronounce your name because I think you could pronounce it 8 or 9 different ways.
Probably.
I'm gonna say Niakossary.
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 Yep.
Okay, it's all about those vowels.
Oh yeah.
Niakossary.
It's where you enunciate. A lot of people say Niakossary or Niakossary, but it's phonetically just Niakossary.
Niakossary.
Yep.
Okay. He was like, are you kidding me? Oh my gosh, tell her I say hi. She is a rock star.
Oh, he's
so,
awesome.
How do you know Rob?
I met him when he first moved to Huntsville, when he was still working for the FBI. Mm-hmm. And it was his kind of job to get Huntsville prepared for all the jobs that the FBI was bringing to Huntsville.
Yeah.
And we were telling him about MidCity. He actually, backing it up, he came and spoke at Rotaract Club, and that's how I met him. And he was talking about how they're recruiting people to come, and their jobs were being relocated to Huntsville. And I was like, come to our office. Let me tell you about MidCity. It might help with your recruitment. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of how we met. It was awesome.
You know, as a quick point on that, I think I mentioned at the latter point of a different episode recently, but so I'll mention it now in the beginning of this episode. But one thing that didn't occur to me, having myself relocated from Northern Virginia to come down here, my company has contracts with the Bureau and things,
Sure.
right? And so there's a lot of us chasing that work. And one thing that didn't occur to me, because most people will kind of flippantly say, oh, the cost of living so much cheaper, or you're going to sell your home in Virginia, Maryland, D.C., and you're going to make all this money and you're going to be ahead of the game. But the reality is the struggle that any company or any government agency is going to have is there may not be a job for your spouse or your partner if they're in a different industry.
Right.
And then the other thing is sometimes people live, if they have really firmly established their roots somewhere, they don't necessarily outright own that home that they're in. It may be have been in the family for years and years. Okay, and let's say you work for, I don't know, let's not pick on the bureau. You work for General Services Administration, and you have this great opportunity to relocate to Huntsville, but you can't really do it because when you leave that house, now maybe your nephew ends up being the new occupant, or your aunt, or someone else in the family. It's kept in the family,
Right?
and I hadn't really thought about that because there are certainly families that have been in a certain area for decade upon decade, generation upon generation. So it's not that simple when decision makers get together and we have this big plan, and surely everyone's going to want to come live in a lower cost area. Sometimes there's other angles that need to be thought of.
Yeah, for sure. I bet it's hard to get. I mean, with property that's owned in larger cities, I met some people that moved here from DC to work for the bureau, and they were of the group that were renting like condos or townhouses in like more dense areas in DC. And this one particular guy that I was talking to that had just moved with his wife, he was like, "Oh, we just got this awesome big new house in Madison, where like, you know, my wife's pregnant, so kids are going to be able to run around, dogs are going to be able to run around, same price point, actually, you know, maybe a little cheaper than what we were paying in DC." And he was like, "And our neighbors are actually nice." Like he was excited.
Oh yeah, no, we've loved it, but you know, and in fact, I was commuting some 50 miles to work.
Oof.
We just kind of as if, let's just say Madison, Huntsville, Decatur, let's say 40 years from now, you're going to have people that going to have to commute long distances because you know this is going to change to a bigger city. The housing prices will be that much more, right? And it's going to cost more and more for a new family to come in, so they're going to be commuting in.
Sure.
And there's probably going to be, I never thought I would commute that far, having grown up there, but it became a reality when it's like, oh, wait a minute, I can pay $400,000 for a house that's this, or $900,000 for the same house, but I just need to drive 50 miles.
Right.
So I'm going to I'll drive 50 miles and pay $400,000 because I can't afford $900,000.
Yeah.
And so my house ended up, it was like I sold it for exactly what I bought this one here. But it was 50 miles away. It's not like we were in like, you know, in the heart of it.
Right.
It's very expensive.
Huh.
But so Nadia Niakossary.
Niakossary.
Gosh, Niakossary. This
So
is going to
close.
be okay. So you are with RCP Companies.
Yes.
And what's really exciting about this episode, as we were talking a little bit before we hit record, there's certainly people that move here. Most people that move here are probably going to be unaware of what MidCity used to be and what it is now. So there's the Top Golf, there's REI, there's Trader Joe's, there's the amphitheater and all of that. So RCP, Nadia represents as a senior, what's your title?
Senior Director of Development.
Senior Director of Development. And I want to get into that. And I only struggled with that because you've done well to move up within the company. And you've gotten different roles, and so, if you look at your LinkedIn, you're like a hiring manager's dream in a way. When I look at a resume, and you would always instruct someone, it's really good to show progress within a company. So you can have been with RCP 5 years or so, right?
This summer will be 6.
6 years of summer, but you're in your 4th job.
Yeah,
and
then
that
kind of had to do with just like everything that has happened in the last 5.5 years. You know, my job has changed with what we've been doing. So the
grew
district,
with it.
Exactly. District grows and my job grew and evolved.
Yeah. And that's a great story to tell.
Yeah.
Right. If
It's
you're
been
sitting,
great.
someone's
I've been lucky.
analyzing your resume and it's like, hey, tell me about your time there. And it seems like there's a passion. You love your job.
I do love my job.
I think I've heard you say that a few different times and stuff I came across.
I've been lucky. I've been very lucky to have this job, you know, right out of, I had this pretty much right out of college, but I've been very lucky to have kind of just fall into it. I definitely didn't seek it, but yeah, tons of growth, big learning curve. Just I'm still learning.
Yeah.
And I've got I've got great bosses that just, have really invested in me in the last 5.5 years to get to where I am.
Sure. So let's do this. I wasn't exactly sure where I would want to start.
Sure.
But let's start with Auburn.
Okay.
And you studied public relations and marketing.
That's right.
Right. And I want you to first talk about if it happened there or if it happened before. When did the seeds get planted of this path that so it's one thing, some people will study marketing in college and then they'll never touch it again. There's other people, and it seems like in the stuff that you did there and even before that, perhaps with event planning, marketing promotion, that this was something that was established in you sometime in the past, and it probably didn't just happen at Auburn.
Yeah.
So I want you, why don't we talk about that? If it didn't happen at Auburn, when was it for you that you knew you wanted to get into kind of event planning, marketing, promotion, and really being a part of the ground level effort on things to kind of really get excited behind an event, right? And bring an event to an area.
Yeah, for sure. And this is actually something that I don't think I've told many people, but it kind of goes back to right before my college career was when I graduated high school. And, there's an overlying theme of just I love to get people together, large groups of people together. I just, and that I think that has to do with a little bit of my Persian heritage and being hospitable. But in high school, I took all of my graduation money and I threw what we called in high school a jam. And they're usually put on by the school, but I put one on myself just to do something over the summer. So I took $1,000 I think I had, and I rented a venue, a few cops, a DJ, and I bought some waters and charged $5 at the door, and a bunch of high school kids came and just danced on a Friday night or whatever it was. And I ended up.
And you were at Grissom.
I was at Grissom. That's right. But I was getting phone calls from parents at Sparkman and Buckhorn. They were like, "Is this safe for my kid to come to?" And I'm like, "How did you even find out about this?" So, charged $5 at the door. Ended up tripling my graduation money.
Wow.
So get me right into college. And and I changed my majors multiple times in college. Started in broadcast journalism, and then kind of like what I was telling you at the beginning, these cameras. I don't do the cameras. So got in front of the cameras a few times just to try the broadcast journalism thing. Wasn't my thing. So I got into public relations and really started exploring the festivals and award ceremonies, just large event production. And I really loved what I was finding there. So I wrote in one of my classes. I wrote one of our assignments was to write an obituary in a very creative way.
Your obituary.
In my obituary, yeah. The assignment was to write your obituary where somebody who was reading it would want to meet you. You're making yourself sound so interesting and what you want to accomplish in life. And you have to kill yourself off in a very, theatric way. My obituary was my professor's favorite, and it was very creative. I really enjoyed writing it because you kind of do write out what you want to do for the rest of your life. And one of the things that I wrote about was how I was a music festival producer and helped to I think I wrote about helping to produce the Grammy Awards ceremony and things like that. So right out of college, I started applying for different music festival production companies. And
hold on, let's pause.
Okay,
pausing. Let's not go too far post-college. I now actually do want to go back to high school and this personal jam thing. Do you recall when you kind of first were noodling this in your brain?
Ooh.
Was it multiple weeks and months or years in the making? Was it something you thought of like in middle school? Wouldn't this really be cool? I have this vision that I want to host an event and do a musical, jam type thing. I'm too young, whatever. And then you get into high school, and it sounds like it was your senior year, but did you have these thoughts when you were a freshman, sophomore? I mean, cost aside,
Yeah.
being a possible constraint, was it just the desire was there?
I think it probably happened when I started being able to drive. Growing up
Okay.
in Huntsville, there's not a whole lot, especially back then, there wasn't a whole lot to do, especially for high school students. We would just hang out in like the Target parking lot or whatever, go to football games or whatever on Friday nights, and or like the movies or the mall or things like
This
that.
is
High
circa
school.
like 2009, 2010?
2000, I guess when I turned 16, 2011,
11? Okay.
2010, 11, something
Okay.
like that. Yeah, I was sophomore. When do you turn 16? Sophomore, junior year?
Sophomore year,
Yeah.
usually.
Yeah, I think it was 2010. Yeah, not a whole lot going on. Madison Square Mall was still there too.
Yeah.
But I just kind of wanted to give my friends something to do. My friends' parents all called me the cruise ship director because I was always the one that would like make the plans for my friends, get everybody together.
Right.
So
You're
I
in
think
charge of
that's
the
kind of when,
itinerary.
yeah, I'm in charge of the itinerary. That's right. So I think that's kind of where it started. Is just kind of giving people something to do other than sit in a Target parking lot.
You and I share that. I always was the itinerary guy when it came to a beach trip with my buddies or anything where there was some logistics involved.
Yeah.
I learned probably the hard way to not let any of those knuckleheads do it. And like, all right, if it's going to be done well, I'll do it. And there was at least one or two times where I thought to myself, I probably should take this over. Like one time we went to Cincinnati to see Jimmy Buffett.
Oh.
And we had to figure out how to get there in the hotel. And I don't even know how we did it. Like I would literally cash my like $110 check that I got from like the golf range. And I would just blow, okay, I got $110.
Yeah.
Let's go. And gas was a lot cheaper, of course, but like I don't remember how we really paid for things. Like, did we eat? Did we fill up the gas tank?
You just figured it out.
We just figured it out. We
Yeah.
didn't have credit cards because you had to literally go in and pay, in person, or
Sure.
you take your credit card in person. It's a different time. But man, there were a couple trips where I'm like, there was one time we showed up and my buddy, we had no place to stay at the beach. He
That's
was in
important.
charge of the lodging. And he said he had something through his mother's friend at work. And this is Ocean City, Maryland. And we kind of show up and no, there's no reservation.
Oh no.
Well, what do we, I mean, like, seriously, dude? Like, you never
You had
thought
one job.
you never thought to like follow up?
Yeah.
And I don't know how many times I asked him. He's like, yeah, we're good. Anyway,
So what'd y'all do? Did you just sleep in the
I
car?
stayed in my car.
Oh man.
Yeah, I mean, I slept in, I guess we were lucky. This was 1992. And if anybody knows Ocean City, Maryland, it's like there's like 170 streets. And all of the action is down, like they have like they'll sometimes do like beach volleyball tournaments there. They have this crazy amount of sand. Like the from the boardwalk to the ocean is an abnormal amount of, it's like, I would say it's probably more than 1,000 yards.
Wow. That sounds
Some
awesome.
some beaches you go to and it's, you've got maybe 50 yards or
Yeah.
100 yards or 200. There's too much sand, and they have like amusement park, and there's all these like true boardwalk type things, but that tapers off like around 20th Street, and then the hotels just get bigger and bigger and bigger. So by the time you get into like 50th through the 170th, it's just these huge hotel condo things, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I found a place on 21st Street where I could park for free.
Oh wow.
And that's where my car stayed.
That's
and
where
I
you
never
stayed.
moved it.
Oh my
And
gosh.
there were nights that I slept in the car. And then there was nights that, this is like beach week. So like all of your high school friends are there staying in various places.
So you just couch
And he and I
surfed.
split up.
Yeah.
Like I didn't see him I saw him like the first couple days. And I'm not even sure. I don't think he ever I think I stayed in my car like 3 of the 7 nights.
But made for a good story. How, would you have remembered it as well
No.
if you stayed in that wherever hotel that
I
he
think
was
I
gonna,
showered
you know?
once. And
Made for the good
I
story.
just lived off deodorant. I don't remember if I like where I brushed my teeth. It was just one of those things. So anyway, the whole point is he was never ever allowed to, schedule. Or
Yeah,
like,
lodging's an important one.
he was never allowed to put our itinerary together.
Yeah.
Like that was my job. Did you have anything like that ever fail on you?
I'm not the most organized person, I will admit. So I'm one of those people that'll like book a flight and like a place to stay and then like not anything else at all. So, and my friends know that about me. I handled like the big items, like I'll get us there, I'll find us a place, but like I'm not much of like an itinerary person.
Like
I don't
excursions and things.
Yeah, I like to be able to just fly by the seat of our pants. I want to just do the trip however it ends up happening. So I've never been one to need to like plan something out like that necessarily. If it has to do with like other people, that's when things get a little dicey. But I can plan things for myself.
Right. So I've got something I want to show you.
All right, let's see.
I was commenting. So I was telling Nadia, as a spoiler, that I would sometimes in episodes I'll go through a picture pack at the end, but I also will at times have photos of things that I will present when the conversation presents itself. Now, I know you've been to Hawaii.
I have
a few times. A few times?
A couple times.
Okay. And my wife and I are going this Friday for my first time to Hawaii.
Nice.
She's going for her second time. I can't, it's a work related type thing. I'm not going to go into the specifics of that. But this picture, I believe, is in Hawaii.
Yeah.
From your Instagram.
Yes.
And that I don't know who you're with, so if you want to just talk about this picture.
Yeah.
But is this one of those things where you kind of like, yeah, I got the airfare, we got the hotel, we got a blue Jeep, but beyond that, we're living footloose and fancy free.
Literally. That is my older sister, Nellie. She's 2 years older than me. She lives in LA. And my friend Andrew, who is now actually my coworker as well. So I was looking for a trip with my sister, and we were like throwing out all these ideas of like places to go, and we decided on Hawaii because it's like super close to her. I had like a whole week, and told my friend Andrew, and he was like, "I've got a few weeks that I need to burn off before the end of the year." This was October of 21.
Okay.
And so he was like, "Can I come with you?" And I was like, "It's going to be me and my sister and you, if you're cool with that." And he was like, "Yeah." So my sister, it was me. It was the three of us for the first half of the week. And that was kind of like the more planned side of things a little bit. I just knew I wanted this. I knew I wanted like some sort of vehicle that you could take the top off and drive around and enjoy the scenery of Hawaii. So I got on Turo. And I found this beautiful blue Jeep. Honestly, this Jeep was like it was my favorite part of the trip because the drives around that island in a Jeep like this. So highly recommend. Get on Turo, find a nice car, and just like.
Was this on Oahu?
This was on Oahu.
And do you remember when this picture, where on Oahu this was shot? Where he took this picture? We have like on the North Shore?
It was not North Shore. It was that mountain behind us. We ended up hiking up, which I can't remember the name of it right now, but I'll be sure to send it to you. There is an old like track, like a railroad track or something that goes up that mountain, and it's a pretty hard hike. Like that one. That's the one. It was intense. My legs hurt so bad.
Wendy, are you familiar with this? So my wife just came into the studio, Wendy, and we were just talking about her travels, and told her we're going to Hawaii on Friday.
You guys are going to Oahu? Mm-hmm. Awesome. I've got like a lot of from our Turo guy, our Airbnb guy, and one of my friends that lives there. I've got lists of things I can send you guys for recommendations.
I know we're doing Diamond Head. We have a reservation for that. I love snorkeling.
Ooh,
so, that kind of stuff. And we'll go up to the PCC and do some stuff on the North Shore too.
Yeah. We actually had planned, we only had our place to stay for the first half of the week. And we were like, oh, well, we'll figure out something for the next half of the week. And we were, because we wanted to stay, that was it. So like Tuesday or Wednesday came and we were like, oh, we don't have lodging for the second half of the week. Because we wanted to go on another side of the island was our plan. Yeah. Like go to North Shore, get a place there, like split up the week. We even talked about maybe even just like getting a van and like, because you can get Airbnb vans where you can just drive around and stay wherever. But that seemed a little like, because you have to like stay in very certain areas and I'm not privy to like stuff like that. So
you don't want to get off the beaten path.
Yeah.
It's kind of like in the Caribbean, unfortunately, right? Like you really don't want to not go where it's kind of designed for tourists to go.
Yeah.
Or
exactly. Well, you have to like stay overnight in the van in certain areas. Is what I meant. You know,
gotcha.
So like you can't just park it anywhere and go to sleep.
Gotcha.
So we didn't want to have to like deal with figuring that out. So we ended up just like staying on Waikiki and had an awesome place right by the beach. And yeah, it was a good trip.
That's awesome.
I'm excited for you guys.
Thank you. So let me do this while we're in the pictures, because you've mentioned your sister, but I believe this is some of your family. As is all your family. You want to talk? Can you talk a little bit about what the sisters on the left, your brother?
Yep, that's
and
my
your
brother
dad.
and my dad. Yep. So I'm the middle child of 3. So I got Nellie that's older and my brother that's younger, Bobak, and that's my dad. Lovingly, Baba. If you
Bubba.
if you follow me on Instagram, you know my dad. Everybody loves my dad. He's such a character. When he walks into a room, he is the main character.
Okay.
So he that's the 4 of us, and then there's my mom that's not in the photo, but
she took the picture.
An angel of a woman.
Or is it a selfie? It looks like you're
a selfie. Yeah. I think I was taking it.
Yeah, you're reaching out.
Yeah, that was in Dallas for Thanksgiving a few years ago.
So it's Bubba and Bobak.
Baba and Bobak. That's right. And Nellie.
So what was the Persian community like in Huntsville? I know there's a Facebook page and
oh, you found the Facebook page.
I did. It looks like I don't know if it's been updated in a while.
It probably hasn't.
The last post was for it's No-Rooz?
No-Rooz, yeah.
The last one was for last year's No-Rooz. So
that sounds all right.
So it sounds like we need to do a post for this year.
Yeah. Well, we're not really sure if we're going to do anything big this year for
Really?
Nowruz, just with everything going on in Iran right now. But we will do the Nowruz is, for your listeners, it is Iranian New Year. Iranian New Year, the New Year is on the first day of spring. So it's all about renewal and rebirth, and the actual New Year is on the first day of spring, which usually falls around like March 20th. So the holiday it consists of three events, and the first one is an event called Charshanbasuri, which is the Tuesday night before the New Year. And it's where we set up like these little fires, and you jump over the fires to wish away bad luck and bad health in the new year. And there's a poem that you read as you jump over the fires. So when I was growing up here, we would have it at Ditto Landing every year. Huge community of Persians would come out. Everybody would bring like picnic foods and like set it up on this big table, and everybody would kind of like share family style. You just like grab whatever you want. And then you would do, once the sun went down, we would jump over the fires. And
how many fires?
Usually it's like four of them, three or four of them in a row. And I think there's probably videos of it on my Instagram too.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's one of the first ones. So the last 2 or 3 years, we've been hosting it at the camp, which is at MidCity, which is who I work for. So this year we're gonna do Charshanbasuri. So it's gonna be Tuesday night, the March 14th, if that's a Tuesday.
Yeah, that's a Tuesday. That's our anniversary.
Oh,
25 years.
Happy anniversary. That's
Thank
awesome. You. Yeah, well, you guys should come out if you're in town. If you're not,
we'll be here.
Yeah,
we'll probably be looking for something to do.
Come on out. I usually the last couple of years I go to city council, whatever Thursdays before that, and invite Mayor Battle and city council members in the city of Huntsville, and I just invite everybody to like come and celebrate Persian New Year with us.
Well, while you just mentioned Mayor Battle, so mention the proclamation.
Oh yeah. So what was, I guess this was 2020. My parents, so my dad came to the States pre-Iranian Revolution in the 70s, and my mom came here afterwards. And my dad moved around a bit, and then him and some of the other OG Persian community people of Huntsville, they went to Alabama A&M, and where some are, more come. So a community started forming here some like 40 years ago in Huntsville, Alabama. So there's a decent community here. I think we've got like 2,000 people that are either here or have gone away and come back. There's a lot of grad students at UAH too that are Iranian. And in order to, I saw that, like, I think it was somewhere in, I think it was like the DC area, somewhere in Virginia. I saw where they had submitted a proclamation for the city to recognize Iranian New Year as a holiday.
Mm-hmm.
So I wrote a proclamation and submitted it to Mayor Battle and his team to be recognized as a City of Huntsville holiday. And that afternoon or that evening, I went to City Council and presented it. And I told them, like, hey, you got so many Iranian neighbors. They're your attorneys, they're your doctors, they're your jewelers. Everybody knows Donnie's Diamonds in town. You got an entire community here that has otherwise never been recognized. So would love for him and the city council members to come and celebrate with us. And he passed the proclamation that year to make Iranian New Year recognized under mayoral proclamation as a City of Huntsville holiday.
And you already knew Mayor Battle pretty well from the stuff going on with your company and developing MidCity, so it wasn't like you really had any trepidation on submitting this to him. This wasn't like, who's Nadia?
Yeah,
she knows who you are. He knows who you are. He probably knows who Bubba is.
Yeah, exactly. I kind of like walked up there and I was like, I'm speaking as Nadia, not RCP Nadia. So I know I come to city council a lot and I present things on behalf of MidCity or our other projects. And so it was a new thing for me to go up there for something more personal rather than for professional.
Right. Niakossary.
Niakossary.
I got
That's
it.
Right.
I got it now.
You got it. It's down.
Niakossary. Oh yeah, there's 3 days.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, I think that one day is the only one that we're planning to do this year.
Okay.
I don't know about the other two yet, but the second one is the one that is the Saturday night of the New Year, where it's usually the big party. So we have a big cocktail party at one of the venues in town. There's a table that you set up that is called the Half Scene, and it represents like a bunch of stuff, and mostly about renewal, rebirth, and the coming of a new year in spring. So we get a DJ and it's a big party and have a good time. And then the last event is a picnic 13 days after the new year, where there's more traditions that you do, or you like tie up the little plants that you've been planting for the last month or so, and you're supposed to put it in the river, and it's all symbolic, and there's a lot of traditions that go into these events. But I just wanted to bring it to the city so that like more people, even like beyond Mayor Battle and the city council members, I just wanted people of Huntsville to come and like celebrate with us. And I was surprised that a lot of people actually did come out. And what was also cool is that Iranian people who lived here, who didn't know that there was a community here, ended up coming, and now they're part of our community too, because they didn't know that there was a Persian community in Huntsville in the first place. Yeah.
So. Well, it makes me think of it when I moved to Herndon, Virginia, which is Dulles Airport, if you've ever flown into Dulles. I'm in fifth grade, and I'm playing baseball. I'm new to the area, right? I'm new to like the baseball league, and there's this guy, Cheyenne Nahorai, and he's from Iran. And that dude had a full beard at 12, right? And I'm just staring at this guy, like, and I had moved from somewhere where I had a lot of Korean friends, Chinese friends.
Sure.
They were all diplomat children in McLean. But then I moved out here and it was kind of my first friends that were Persian. And so I'm like, this guy, he wasn't on my team. He was on like another team, but we ended up becoming teammates later in different sports. But I'm like, oh my gosh, I was just enamored. Like, is this guy like 18? He's 12. And then and then another friend, Ali Justi. They were like my two really good Persian friends. So then
shout out to them.
And we had a whole bunch of other Persians, of course, in the school.
Oh,
but
yeah.
then
Big
you move
community
here,
there.
and I think sometimes it's like, oh, cool. A lot of us have had other, cultural experiences, if you will.
Yeah.
I think I tell people all the time, look, if you come from Northern Virginia, there's nothing that I can say delicacy-wise or something where you're like, oh, that's Northern Virginia. We have nothing. So we tag on to everyone else. Oh, Pittsburgh has the Primanti Brothers sandwich.
Sure.
Philly has the cheesesteak. Kansas City's known for the barbecue. What are we known for? Nothing. Maybe in Virginia there's ham and peanuts somewhere that they're known for growing, but we have no identity. And I'm definitely one of those who I loved friends who had culture, and I loved being around them and their parents, and they were hardworking, had restaurants and stuff. I just love being around them.
It's fun to share. It's so fun to share my culture. I love having friends over for dinner. My parents love having my friends over for dinner. I think last year, maybe it was 2 years ago now, I invited a lot of my coworkers over for a big dinner, and my mom made like a really awesome spread. So it's always just fun to be able to like share that part of my life. I don't know if you have ever heard of like the third culture kid thing.
Well, no, I don't think I have.
Okay, so I'm a third culture kid. It's when you grow up in a place that's different from your parents' culture. So I'm foreign in like the sense of like growing up in Alabama, but I'm Americanized in the sense of like having foreign parents. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so third culture kid.
Is that essentially where your Instagram comes from? The 3-6 Nadia? Is that?
Is not where it comes
Dang
from. It's
I'm like trying to figure this out.
3-6 Nadia. 3-6 Mafia.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, just the fact he spelled out the 3 and then there's the number 6. I'm like, she's messing with me.
Yeah. 3-6 Mafia. I remember when I was a kid and I had that little Nokia phone. Every time I would type in Nadia, it would autocorrect to Mafia. So that's kind of where it came from.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's all good. Yeah.
Now, what about Iranian weddings? Are those, so we're talking about the New Year and there's 3 days, you know, traditionally, but like with a wedding, what's the normal? I've been to Indian weddings that are 5 days.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I went to day 1, wasn't used to that. But what's that like? Or can you give me an idea of some of the other things that are celebrated that are probably longer in duration or just different than American culture?
Yeah, definitely. We don't do like multi-day weddings like Indians, like the Indian culture does. We have one big party, and it really depends on which religion too. Like you come from. So my sister, who's in LA, has a lot of Iranian friends that live in there, because the second most populous place of Iranians, other than like the capital of Iran, is Los Angeles. So you got they call it Tehrangeles. So
my buddy Cheyenne lives in LA now.
That doesn't surprise me at all. There's so many Iranians there. Like you'll walk down the street and hear Farsi all the time. But a lot of her friends are Jewish Iranian, whereas the community here is mostly they're mostly Muslim Iranians. So it kind of just depends on which religion, because the tradition of an Iranian wedding, the ones that I've been to are mostly of a Muslim pair, and so you'll have like a big table in front of the bride and groom that again have a lot of things on it that symbolize a lot of different things on there. You'll have the Quran in front of you, and they do a lot of different like traditions and dances. So it's not multi-day, but it's a production, that's for sure.
I noticed just in the little research I did, like kind of looking at your Instagram, and before we went live, I mentioned to Nadia that she's a really good poster, right?
Thank you.
And you have a lot of followers, and you do a really good job of of just laying it out there. But it seems like you've been invited to a lot. You've been to a lot of weddings.
Oh my gosh, I go to so many weddings.
Do you have is there a particular type of ceremony or something that really stands out that you've experienced? Whether that's, there may be the exotic element. I know you went to Puerto Rico, right? Your family went down there for a wedding, and that's always nice when you go to a destination thing. But that aside, was there something that kind of surprised you culturally or something where like, man, that was really cool, or I misjudged it. I thought it would be lame and it was awesome, or whatever.
Yeah, I really love weddings that have multiple cultures, right? So the bride and groom are from different cultures, but they incorporate both of the cultures in the weddings. I think that's always fun. I went to a wedding that was the bride was somebody that we grew up with, so Iranian culture, and then the groom was from Trinidad and Tobago.
Oh wow!
So it was an awesome wedding. They did both of the traditional ceremonies, and then afterwards the reception was just like this big party. Everybody was dancing and like played music from like both cultures. It was really cool. So I think that's always fun. I go to a lot of weddings. I think I easily go to like 10 plus weddings a year.
Yeah.
So I enjoy I enjoy celebrating the matrimony of people.
Yeah. My wife and I, long time ago, I think it was like 2005, my buddy, white guy, I don't think he was really religious, but they had some sort of Christian ceremony, but he married Indian. And so like we had we had the outdoor ceremony. It was like 105 degrees. I kid you not. And I'm like sweating in this tuxedo. I was like in the wedding party thing. And we do like the Christian wedding. And then that was like 1 hour. And it was kind of just dry, and then the party started, and then all of a sudden we go back into the hotel, and then the Indian party started, and we were there till like at least midnight. Like, we got to go home. We got small kids, and it just kept going, and it was awesome. Like I was just amazed in a way. I'd always heard about these great parties they have, and everyone was dancing.
I've never been to an Indian wedding.
It was really
dying to go to one. I've never been.
And I've seen some pictures of other people that I knew that got married over in India, and it's like, oh my goodness,
oh wow,
it's quite the production.
Yeah, and it's so colorful, it's so pretty. Yeah, I would love to go to an Indian wedding. Never been. That's on the bucket list.
So let's here's a picture of a recent event when the U.S. and Iran played in soccer, and that's just outside the Melt. And Wendy and I were actually eating lunch. It might have been this day. Like, it was funny. We look outside. We pulled up to the Melt. We walk up and like, oh, they're gonna be showing the World Cup.
Yeah.
And then we sit down and eat, and then by the time we came out, the street was full. Like, they had just like put the screen up while we're there, and then within 45 minutes, the whole street's jammed.
That's awesome. I love that they did that. I think that was super cool. I'm a big World Cup girl. I watched a lot of the games. Just had them up on my second screen as I was at work.
Yeah.
And
now, was that you doing the deuces?
No, that's my sister and my sister's best friend.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Jessica. I took the photo.
You took the photo.
Yeah, just to
Sure.
remember that they did this for the Iran-U.S. game, and it was. Actually, this was for the U.S.-England game. They did not do the Iran-U.S. game because it was, as you can see, 1 p.m. Eastern, which is during a work day. So
gotcha.
It was not at a good time to be able to close the street down on a Tuesday. But this was a Saturday, and it was super fun. They did this, and then they did the next day for what game was it? It was I think it was Mexico, Argentina. Is that right? I don't know, something like that.
That sounds right.
Yeah, a big game the next day. It was fun.
So did you play soccer growing up?
I did. I played soccer all growing up. Did a bunch of different sports growing up, obviously. Like, you try them all, but then soccer's the one that stuck. I still play soccer. I play on a women's league here, and it's super fun. I'm definitely like, not all the players that I play with were ex-college soccer players, or they're coaching high school soccer right now. So I definitely fall behind on the skill set there, but it's super fun. I love to just like keep my foot on the ball and just keep playing. Actually, it was funny. A few years ago, I was at work and we were meeting with this guy, me and my boss, and I was like, "Sorry guys, I gotta go. I got a soccer game." And the guy goes, Oh man, enjoy it. They grow up so fast. And I thought about it and I was like, the soccer game's for me. So I was like, wait a minute. What are you talking about? I was like, you're right. I do grow up so fast. I'll never forget that. I think that's hilarious.
How long ago was that?
I think that was like 3 years ago.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, it was like three or 4 years ago.
Did you correct him? Oh, you did correct him.
I didn't know what he was talking about, and I think my boss is the one that was like, "No, she's playing soccer,"
Yeah.
and he was like, "Oh, okay."
So when's the last time you like tore a hammy or tweaked your ankle and you kind of come in hobbling to work the next day and
Oh
people
man,
like, we told
I got
you
terrible
so.
ankles.
You're not 21 anymore, Nadia.
Yeah, truly. I'll come with like bruises all the time.
Yeah.
But nothing crazy recently. Thankfully, I've got terrible ankles from high school, so I will be coming in like hobbling, just like sore as hell or something. But it's I just love to be able to like running around for 2 hours on a Monday night, twice a year. The seasons come like twice a year. It's great. I love that they do that.
Stay in shape.
Stay in shape.
Are you gonna go be a fan at the when the Huntsville club comes?
Definitely. I'm pumped for that. I think that's going to be awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
An article came out today, actually. One of my, this publication called City Now Next did a piece on the renovation of Joe Davis Stadium. And it was very well written. The images are great, seeing like the images before of Joe Davis and the images after. I also might be just nerding out about that because I'm in the industry, but I think it was a very well put together piece on that development. So I think it'll be awesome to have soccer here.
Is that a type of project that that RCP could go after and chose not to, or
not necessarily?
Project meaning the revitalization of Joe Davis, right? Like
Right. Yeah, not our thing necessarily. Sports and arenas and stadiums, but there is a mixed use project going on next to it. So that would be more our thing is to build things that are complementary to what's around them, right? So there's a mixed use project that's going next to that stadium that'll include like restaurants and a hotel and maybe some multifamily, so that there's more foot traffic in that area as the games are going on. So you don't have to like drive, and that's again part of the amphitheater why it's at MidCity. The idea is that you don't have to like get in a car, go to a game or a show or whatever, get in your car and go home. You want to be able to like enjoy the surroundings. So that's more what we do. We're a mixed use real estate developer.
Yeah, I was thinking, I guess I was kind of equating like the soccer stadium being similar to like the amphitheater as an entertainment sports type thing, and then you have all the stuff around it.
Yeah,
right?
Okay. I see what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So
because they're very similar in that there's seating capacity, and there's going to be some for food and beverage options and bars or whatever, whether it's the amphitheater or a soccer stadium or Toyota Field.
Yeah, that makes sense. So the amphitheater was actually developed by the city of Huntsville.
Okay.
So we kind of helped like lead the process a little bit and introduced the players of like who the architect team and the operator team and all those types of people. We introduced them to the city and like kind of teed it up. But when it was approved by the city of Huntsville to become a city project, our hands are now off.
I gotcha.
So that was all done by the city of Huntsville.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So that 40 acre, there's a 40 acre park that lines like the west side of MidCity, and all of that is owned by the city.
Okay. That's where I was ignorant. I didn't realize.
Oh no, yeah. It's a very common
but I want to give you
misconception. I know a lot of people do, or they'll hit me up for tickets, and I'm like, you don't understand. I also have to buy tickets.
Yeah. All right, so why don't we fast forward now, kind of back to I think where we kind of started the episode. You're leaving school.
Yep.
And RCP, I think, was founded in 2013, so not only about 10 years old. You've been there almost 6 years.
Yeah.
Right.
Wild.
So you've kind of grown as they've grown.
Yeah.
How do you find out about RCP?
Yeah.
And then ultimately, what does that job you interview look like?
Sure. So right out of college, like I mentioned, applied for a bunch of music festival production companies. I found one in Chicago called Red Frog Events. that produced Firefly Music Festival in Dover, Delaware, with AEG Presents. So AEG and Live Nation are kind of the two big dogs of the music industry. And
Did they do that at the racetrack?
it was in like the Woodlands,
Okay.
near the racetrack, but not really.
Okay.
Yeah, it was like in the middle of the woods. Beautiful area that they did this music festival in. Giant music festival. I mean, they had like, what was it, like 7 stages or something crazy. It was huge. I
So
mean,
they're following like the Lollapalooza.
right. They are the what the sister festival is Coachella. So they're the
right.
Coachella of the East.
Okay.
That was AEG's big festival of the East Coast.
I got you.
So the year that I worked for Red Frog, our headliners were The Weeknd, Chance the Rapper, Muse, 21 Pilots, and Bob Dylan.
Big time.
Yeah, it was awesome. So I had a year-long internship in Chicago, right out of school, working for Red Frog, and I guess this was 2017, and actually I moved to Chicago the day of the World Series parade.
Oh,
so
really?
For sports fans,
The curse was broken, and the
Yeah.
Cubs win.
literally, I remember watching the game. I was like, I should probably watch this. I remember watching the game. This was already when I accepted the internship, and the Cubs won, and I was like, cool, okay, this is gonna be fun.
Well, the other thing that was cool is that Nadia picks up a jean jacket from unclaimed baggage that she took with her to Chicago and seemingly kept you warm through the cold months, right?
I guess so. Yeah, I still have that jean jacket too. It's a good jean jacket. Shout out Matt Pittman for that unclaimed baggage piece. People bring that up so much too. It's so funny because when you Google, that's like one of the
It's one of
first
the first
images
things.
that comes up when you Google my name. So yeah, Matt Pittman. He's a local photographer, videographer, and he used to work for Unclaimed Baggage. And he was actually at the camp at MidCity, and
Right.
I was like, oh, I got this jacket at Unclaimed Baggage, and he did that piece on it, which is hilarious. So, yeah, still got it.
So then you have the experience in
Yep.
Chicago.
Did Chicago, did music festivals, came home summer of 2017, and my college roommate, her stepdad is my boss.
Okay.
Now his name is Max Grillier.
He's the founder of RCP.
He is one of the founders of
One of-
RCP.
okay.
Yes, there's 2 of them, Remy Gross and Max Grillier. They were college roommates and started this company together. But I came home for the summer, and Max was trying to launch something called the camp with a music festival called Fireside. So Ashley had told him that my roommate had told him that I was home for the summer, and he was like, you should hire Nadia to help you with this music festival. She just came back from Chicago doing music festivals. And he's like, I'm not going to hire any of your stupid little friends. And then he ended up getting like a glass of wine with me and one of my ex-colleagues who was in the position that I am in now. Met up with them, asked them, I was like, okay, guys, so what's this plan about a music festival? I would love to help bring a music festival to my hometown. It sounded awesome. You know, I'm just newly back to Huntsville, been away for 4 or 5 years, 5 years now. So it was kind of like a reintroduction to what's going on in the city. And he was telling me about like what he had going on. This was again 2017, so that was the year that Madison Square Mall came down, and he was planning to do this music festival. So he hired me for the summer, and I was a contract. I think I don't even remember. I didn't even have a title. He was just like, just help us do this music festival. So helped with figuring out how to produce it within like a month and a half. How to push it out, market it. We created all the social media accounts for the camp and everything. And it was really interesting. It rained all 4 days of that music festival.
Wow.
It was tough. It was really tough, but it really helped us get our stuff together to get the camp started. And right after that music festival was when my boss was like, you know what? I know you're not planning on staying in Huntsville, because I kept telling him I'm not planning on staying in Huntsville. I'm gonna apply, go to LA with my sister, or go back to Chicago, go wherever. And he's like, I know you're not planning on staying, but as long as you're here, you might as well be making money for the summer. So work for us as long as you want, and you can leave whenever you want. And then a year and a half into it, he was like, all right, time to hire you on full time.
So fill in a
Yeah.
blank for me. RCP then only owned the site where the camp is now.
No. So
Or did-
RCP had kind of started with where the Whole Foods project is.
Okay.
So Max and Remy started RCP with that Whole Foods project and the sister property across the street, which is where Char and Ulta
Yeah.
are.
Okay.
So he had built that project, brought a lot of new to market retailers, right? You brought Whole Foods, you brought Orange Theory, Lululemon, all of these like really great retailers. Farm Burger, yeah, that like otherwise weren't in Huntsville at the time, to the market. And through that project, the city kind of tapped Max and Remy and said, hey, do you guys want to buy the mall?
Okay. Okay.
So that kind of came about because of the Whole Foods project.
So
that
then they
already had.
buy the whole acreage of where the mall is, but the camp and this festival is kind of one of the first productions you put on
Exactly.
to draw attention to it.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. So they bought the mall in 2015, and they bought the story of the buying the mall is kind of funny too. And if you've heard me speak about MidCity, then you've heard this before. But CBL, who owned the mall at the time, big mall owner in the U.S., they were about to sell the mall. So Madison Square Mall was literally on deadmalls.com. It was.
I didn't know there was such a URL.
Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure it was like ranked number 1 on deadmalls.com. And like
Okay.
I grew up going to that mall.
That's offensive.
It was offensive. It was a great mall once upon a time.
Yeah. Victoria's Secret was in there. And
Oh yeah, Dillard's, Sears, J.C. Penney. It had 5 of those anchor tenants. It was a massive 1 million square foot mall. And malls back in the day were always built in like the best parts of town, right? So if you watch the opening videos of Madison Square Mall, like I think Miss America came and
she was the one who
present
took
the
over
opening.
for Vanessa Williams.
That's right.
Because she got in trouble for her pictures.
Wow. Yeah. Good. Yeah. You knew that. That's awesome. So that in 2015, CBL came to the city and was like, "Hey, we're selling them all to a group out of Kentucky, who was known for doing flea markets." The city was like,
"Oh,
yeah, please don't do that." It was a really important side of town. That where University Drive is, it accounts for like half of our retail sales tax, and the city runs on retail sales tax. So when you take 1 million square feet of underperforming retail out, you got to build that retail sales tax back up, and a flea market probably won't do that. So they were like, yeah, we're closing in 30 days. And they were like, please don't do that. We'll find somebody. Give us longer. And they said, nope, 30 days. So the city went out, and if you am I allowed to curse on this?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. If you just making sure.
I'm too lazy to go back and edit it anyway. So.
Just wanted to ask because it's part of the story. But if
Yeah.
Max was telling the story, he would have told you that they probably searched batshit crazy developers, saw Max's face on there, and asked them if they would buy a dead mall within 30 days, no due diligence, no development agreement with the city, nothing but like, all right, you're good at what you do, and we need you to help us with this project. So that kind of started the process of MidCity. Was 2015. Ran the mall for 2 years as we like disassembled the mall, because when you buy a mall, you're only buying like the hallways, the guts of the mall. All the anchors all own their own all the anchors own their own parcels.
Right.
So it was a process. So yeah, 2015 to 2017, the mall started coming down in February of 2017, and one of the first things that they had signed up was Topgolf. So Topgolf was being built literally as the mall was coming down, and they opened December of 2017. And then the camp used to be I think it was a Lone Star Steakhouse. And so Max cut off the Lone Star Steakhouse and was building this thing called the camp as a way to like literally like a campfire. You know, you're starting to like bring people to the site and literally watch as like MidCity comes out of the ground. We didn't really know. We knew like we had a concept deck, of course, that was like kind of what we wanted it to be. And it was a lot of things. And it's evolved drastically since 2017. But that's kind of where we learned our chops.
Yeah. Before we go too far, here's the wiki page, right, where it talks about the decline and closure of the mall.
Oh, wow.
But what's really interesting is just I highlighted this paragraph. And so back in like, I guess this was, I'm just going to read the paragraph. The pilot episode of the Food Network show Food Court Wars was filmed at this mall.
That's hilarious.
Kettle and Sprouts, the winner of the episode, received a year's worth of free rent in the mall that was valued at $100,000. Kettle and Sprouts closed only 6 months after the episode aired. So that's bad. You get free rent,
That is bad.
and you still can't make it.
That is real bad.
Right. And then actually there's a picture of the destruction. This is circa February 2017. And I believe the movie theater was kind of holding out, or was like the last one to go.
Oh yeah. They held their ground for a long time. My dad actually owned the Subway inside of the mall, so I spent a lot of time in that mall. I have faint memories of being like right behind. Sorry, my earring is messing up.
Oh, yeah.
I have faint memories of like being like in the back of house of the Subway inside of that food court.
If you walked up to the Subway counter right now, hey, welcome to Subway. How can I help you?
Turkey sandwich.
On what?
On wheat.
On wheat.
I don't get it toasted. I like it cold.
Cheese.
Cheese. I like pepper jack. And then all the veggies. I literally, as they come over to
Just
the
all
veggies,
of 'em.
I said all of them.
All of them?
All of them.
Then what about the condiment? Like
No condiments for me.
Okay.
Not a mayonnaise or mustard girl.
I go through like phases with Subway. Like I went through a phase of like cold cut combo. I went through like a turkey breast phase. I like the Subway Club at times.
Oh yeah. My dad's a big cold cut guy. Loves the Subway cold cuts.
And even the bread sometimes. Right now, if I was to go there, I think I'd just go with white bread. I'm on that. But the honey oat was something I did for a while.
Oh, the honey oat's good.
You know?
Yeah, Subway's underrated.
So the camp, how did you contribute a lot of the thought to just it's so unique, right? And if I remember I had no idea of literally what was there before until probably within the last few months.
Sure.
And then of course now preparing for this episode, I'm doing some research like, oh my gosh, I've only been here we've been here a year, and we're learning.
Oh,
and
yeah.
we're hearing things, and this used to be that, and this used to be that type of thing. But I've driven by it several times, and I probably wasn't until I met you that we met there.
Yeah.
That I had really even gone in. I'm like,
really?
well, this is really unique.
Oh wow.
But like, who did you consult with, or who was consulted with on the build out and the design elements? Because it's one thing to go inside a restaurant. Like I think they're not a paid sponsor, but like a Pablo Sandoval's or even Champy's, and like there's so much thought that goes into like the decor
for sure.
And but the camp to me is like, you don't always see that on the exterior, right? Of the thought that went into making this look like there's a bus and there's this and there's that, and I can't imagine myself sitting here and listening to a local artist.
Yeah.
But did you get a chance to give your input and your thoughts into the overall like design?
Not the design part. I was still young in my
Yeah.
very young in my career when it was first, coming up. But honestly, a lot of that decor and what you see out there is Max. I mean,
Okay.
he loves that, like he's a New Orleans guy. He loves the like grittiness of like, if we bought a chair that was too clean, he'd be like, take it back. I don't want it.
Really?
He likes like to see a lot of different textures,
Distressed
and,
and aged.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's what the camp, and that you see all that bamboo out there. Yeah, that was him.
Wow. Okay.
So that was all, the concept of the camp was a brainchild of a man named Rob Robinson. He is one of the principal architects of our master planners of MidCity called Urban Design Associates. So when we bought the mall, you kind of have to have a game plan. And so that we brought in Urban Design Associates to help us with that initial game plan, laying out how the grid system of the district would work, and kind of like placement of like all the uses inside of the master plan. So one of the very first things that they did was draw up, and I should pull up the very first illustration of the camp of what it was supposed to look like, and it's really cool. It was this like hand-drawn illustration of what the camp could be, and it looks pretty dang close to what it is now. And it's I mean, evolved like crazy. You should also look at like what it looked like in 2017 when we first did the music festival versus like what it looks like now. We've added tons of structures in there. As the place has grown, as our like following has grown, we have grown with it. We like listen to our customers. Oh, you want a longer bar so you could sit at the bar? Our bar is now like twice as long. We've added like a bunch of satellite bars because you know if you're up at the front of the venue enjoying music, you don't want to have to walk all the way over to the back to get a drink. You can get like what you need up front, different things. And then we pride ourselves on the large events that we have, which we try to do like 4 or 5 large scale events a year. So definitely has grown since 2017 because it used to be me and my coworker Lindsay and Max and like the rest of the much smaller RCP team back then, just kind of doing everything that we could to launch the camp. But now we have a pretty awesome, robust team that operates and programs the camp.
Yeah. I think I was talking to my wife on the phone right before like you showed up. And I remember thinking or asking her, like, I don't know how to get to the bathroom. I was like looking for the restroom, right? But it's kind of an outdoor thing. And you can tell it's not in season yet, right? This is winter. This is like, I don't know, January or whenever I met you or December. And it's kind of cold out. And I went into like where, you know.
The coffee shop.
Yeah, the coffee shop. There's no restroom in here. Like.
Yeah, it is a little hidden back there.
But I found it.
Yeah.
But I found it.
Some signage would be nice over there.
There might have been.
Yeah.
But that was part of the fun, though, is just to walk around and get to see just like, wow, that's cool. That's cool. That's a great idea.
Yeah. It's discovery. You know, there's all these like nooks and crannies of like different food trucks and different seating areas. You've got little fire pits. That whole structure that's in the, south side of the project now, that's not where like the stage area is, but like where that awning is that connects to the 2 shipping containers. That's all new. That's got there. Well, I say new. It's like a year old. But we just added that. That used to be like, it was originally just grass, and then we put gravel down, and now we put a bunch of seating out there. So it's definitely, you've got to see photos of like what it used to be.
Okay.
Lindsay and I started right after Fireside, right after that music festival, just to keep kind of like the momentum going. We started this thing called Hangry Hour, where we would invite a food truck to come and sit at the camp for free. We just wanted people to like, just kind of traffic patterns, like just memory of driving to the site and coming to have lunch with this food truck. So we would announce which truck that we had on site that day, just to generate some foot traffic out there.
All right, let's do this. I have your LinkedIn page here.
Oh, gosh.
And this goes back to the comment I made earlier, just to show the progression within RCP. But I have something particular I want to point out. But you start out as a, no, before, hold on.
This is so funny.
Marketing consultant.
Yep.
Right? So they hire you in as a marketing consultant.
July 2017.
And then a year and a half into it,
That's when he hired me on full time.
That's when he hired you on full time.
And he was like, all right, you're going to be hired on full time, and I want you to work on the development side with me. Okay. And I was like, I don't know the first thing there is to know about real estate development. And he was like, well, you'll learn.
So let me ask you this. And I'm going to we're going to go over here to the Trader Joe's letter that was written. Do you, I think I've said to various people over the years, like, you start a job and 30 days into it, you feel a little more comfortable. 60 days into it, feel a little more comfortable. 90 days, right? There's these markers, maybe 180 days a year mark. It's just interesting sometimes how it coincides with, you just kind of look back, you're working like, oh, wow, this is great. I can't believe I'm getting to do this or that, or I feel that much more comfortable. I've learned all these things. And there's always seems to be this like clear mark of time that has elapsed. So I look at this, you're progressing through, you're getting additional, for lack of a better term, sexier title, right?
Yeah.
Business development manager. And then this Trader Joe's letter gets written, which I think is brilliant.
Thank you.
And my question is, without having any sort of knowledge of this, it seemed to coincide, the date of the letter and a promotion, if you will, for you, Is this something that you spearheaded? Why don't we just send a letter, an open letter to the CEO saying, hey, you need a Trader Joe's in Huntsville? Did that come from you?
Yes. So what happened was one of my very first assignments, once I got hired on full time, Max came to me and he was like, we need to get Trader Joe's attention.
Okay.
Find out how. I was like, okay. So Trader Joe's did a podcast at the time. I think they still do. But I was kind of like sifting through their podcast and saw that their head of real estate had done a podcast episode. So I listened to it. And she said in the podcast episode, she said that they procure new locations based on community demand, and that there's this form on their website that if you want a Trader Joe's, then like submit your city to this form. So I started a little, and like my background being marketing, I was very interested in social media. Social media marketing was not what it is today. It was kind of just starting off, like having a social media manager was kind of a new thing. It was mostly just like under the marketing bucket at the time. So I started this social media campaign, and originally just put out that form. And I was like, hey, I made a couple graphics, and I was like, hey, Huntsville, you guys want a Trader Joe's? Blitz this website and tell them that we have the perfect location for them at MidCity. It got picked up on WAFF, Way 31, all these news channels that like, oh, MidCity's trying to get Trader Joe's, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna keep this going. So I put out this open letter. I wrote this open letter.
There it is.
You got it? Oh my gosh, you have the.
Well, some of it.
Oh, some of it. Okay, cool. Yeah, I wrote this open letter to Trader Joe's. I think it's on the. There is one somewhere, but there it is.
Right here, right? Dear Captain Dan Bain.
Yeah, it was long. It was pretty long. So I kind of went through, and this is kind of how we go through our pitches still today. I did a thing on Huntsville, why Huntsville is popping off right now, and then why MidCity is the perfect spot for them in Huntsville. And that Trader Joe's has this like kitschy little like captain crew theme in their brand. So I wrote it to the CEO, Captain Dan Bain, and just kind of wanted to make it a little fun, a little cheeky, and throw in some Trader Joe's things in there. Tell them about like all the things at the time that Huntsville had just announced. And I put it on social media, but then I sent it to like all the like, leasing at traderjoes.com, hello at traderjoes.com, info at traderjoes.com, anything I could think of. I just would send it out, and attach this letter to it. And from that, we got the attention of the Trader Joe's broker. And so that kind of started the process of attracting Trader Joe's to MidCity, which was a long process. It took 3 years.
So what was your level of involvement like through that process? Were you were the the POC, if you will, for it? So all the emails are coming to Nadia.
Yes, and Max. I think that's one of my favorite, personal accomplishment or professional accomplishments that you would ask me about, was like, I was literally involved in every step of the process from the time that we first got the broker's attention to all the emails back and forth, like getting them, more introduced to MidCity. And then we ended up going to meet the broker at ICSC, which is the International Conference of Shopping Centers in Vegas that we go to every year. So we met him there, and it was so funny. We were like, we know how we have a meeting at this booth, but we couldn't figure out what booth it was. Trader Joe's is super weird when you're like in the process of doing a lease with them. They don't want you to say their name at all.
Really?
You can't even name a file like Trader Joe's or TJ. Like, you cannot tell anybody that you're talking to them, or else they would fine you and then they would pull out of the deal.
Wow.
Like, that's part of their like
veil of secrecy.
Yeah, it was crazy. So we didn't even like say the words Trader Joe's in the office. We would call them, by their parcel name or specialty grocer. So we went to ICSC, and we like walk up to this counter and we're like, hey, is this booth like whatever? And he was like, who are you here to see? And we told him, and he was like, yeah, right this way. And it was like this room, and you like walk into this room, and it was like Trader Joe's stuff everywhere. And if you've been to like one of these massive conferences in Vegas, everything is like open floor plan. So there are no like doors or rooms. But he had himself in this like little room.
They created one.
It was so interesting. So yeah, it was part of that. And then it progressed, got to lease, signed a lease, designed their building with them, where they wanted to be. The head of real estate that actually was on the podcast, she came to Huntsville, and we like orchestrated this entire day where like we wanted her to like see the like so much so where we had lunch at the camp, and we told a bunch of people to come have lunch at the camp that day so that like it looked full. Yeah. I mean, it was very orchestrated. And I remember going to the top of this coffee shop that I met you at. We walked to the second floor, and originally Trader Joe's was actually supposed to go where where Wahlburgers is.
Yeah.
Right next to it.
Really?
So that's where we wanted them originally to go. When we first talked to them, as our first conversations with them, we're telling them about that location, that spot. And we're standing on top of the coffee shop, and she looks over, and she's like, "What's going there?" And we were like, "Oh, no. You don't want to be up there. Your box won't fit." She's like, "I want to be right there, where all the visibility on University Drive."
There you go.
Like, Trader Joe's there was only one in the entire state. So she was worried that nobody would see or know who Trader Joe's is, which is hilarious. But yeah, they wanted that visibility. So we were like, you know what? Your Trader Joe's will give you whatever you want. So we fit a 12,000 square foot building on that parcel right there.
Now, is that their maximum template size when they do a store, or could they have done a bigger store? Or did they want to try to do a bigger store? But she chose the location ultimately.
Yeah, she chose the location. Where we had them, it was going to be about the same. It's actually 12,500 square feet. Mm-hmm. Their one in Birmingham is 12,000 square feet. So it's about the same.
Okay.
I think in more urban areas, they're smaller, and then more suburban areas, they're larger.
Were there other parts of like the negotiation of things that they wanted that we didn't give them, or vice versa?
Let me think. I don't think so. Their whole mural wall thing, that's a unique to MidCity thing. We told them, because the way that they designed their building, there were all of these like massive blank walls, and MidCity is an arts and entertainment district. So we told them that like, that's fine if you want to like design your building this way, but you've got to cover these walls with murals. So we set them up with a local artist to do those walls, and we actually only required them to do that one wall that faces University Drive, and they ended up doing all three walls, which is cool.
That's awesome.
So that was done. What else was done? Unique to Huntsville, they do not announce that they're coming to the market, any market. They don't do announcements. But the year was 2020, and it was a tough year for everybody. And Mayor Battle had we had just signed the papers for like the lease of Trader Joe's. Like it was officially a done deal. And I was also part of like the entire process of like negotiating the lease, and like I'm not doing like the numbers part, but I helped them put like the exhibits together. Mm-hmm. And we had to have it like very, everything was like very detailed. So once the lease was signed, the Mayor Battle and the head of economic development, Shane Davis, called them personally, and they were like, "Look, it's been a tough year. We are about to have our State of the City address. Can I announce Trader Joe's during the State of the City address?" And they made a very special agreement that they could announce during Mayor Battle's 2020 State of the City address as like his like big announcement that year. But they told us, as the developer of MidCity, that we still couldn't say anything. So I remember I have all these like Snapchats of myself just sobbing, sitting at my desk, because that year it was virtual, obviously. So we're watching the State of the City address, and I was watching as something that I've been working on for 2.5 years now unfold. Everybody finding out, like people are calling me, the media is calling me, asking me about this, and I couldn't say anything. And it was rough.
Did they ever, during this long process, try to back out?
Nope.
It was just a matter of time, it just takes time.
Yeah, it just took time. And like a lot of it, and this is kind of with everybody that we talk to, It's all about like getting them comfortable with the Huntsville market, which is very unique. You know, like they don't usually come in markets this small. But what they didn't see, if you Google like the population of Huntsville, that's not appealing to someone like Trader Joe's. But what they don't see is this 13 county trade area of people who come into Huntsville. It's like over 1 million people that come into Huntsville to work at Arsenal Research Park for their healthcare. Huntsville Hospital is the largest hospital system. For their entertainment, of course, like Huntsville's the hub for all these counties. And then just with all of these, the job growth that's happening in Huntsville, you have all of these people who are so used to having their Trader Joe's in DC and Denver and Austin and Chicago and all these places that people are moving to Huntsville from, that is one of the biggest, like, you know, recruitment checkpoints for Huntsville. So it was the whole like pitch of like Huntsville and MidCity to get them here, that like it was a feat.
Let me give you your next assignment.
Okay,
Are you ready to receive it?
Hit me.
And I'm curious if others, similar to people that had Trader Joe's in other parts of the country, there is a next level, I'm telling you, next level grocery store. Wegmans. Have you heard of Wegmans, and has it been desired?
I have heard of Wegmans.
I'm telling you, I am telling you, it is next level.
Yeah, I'm familiar.
They're out of New York.
Yeah.
And I'm not, I meant to bring this up with you, and I meant to all day go online and just see where they've expanded.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Buc-ee's, right? Like Buc-ee's is unbelievable, but it's not everywhere in the U.S.
Right.
And there's other things that are unbelievable that aren't everywhere in the U.S. And I'm telling you, Wegmans is absolutely next level.
That would be next level.
And it's not, I'm not saying that this is our Town podcast. I love Huntsville. I love living here, and I'm not being critical like, oh, I wish we had this.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, it is.
What's so great about it? What do you love about it?
Well, it's and a lot of grocery stores somewhat do this, where you could go in and eat. Mm-hmm. But when I say you can go in and eat, you're eating like the finest seafood, the finest meats, the finest bakery. Like it's I don't know how to describe that, where there's a child care center.
Wow, okay.
Like you get 1 hour.
But the options, you know how like
Very
if I went to an Asian market, I'm going to go to an Asian market if I really want to find, like we were looking for something, we made some like lo mein the other day, and we needed some like fried garlic paste, something like that. Mm-hmm. You're not going to get that at Publix.
Sure.
But you get them at Wegmans. So it's almost like they're going to take, if you're a food connoisseur and you need certain ingredients and you know, well, I need to go to a specialty store, they're a specialty.
Okay.
But they're big.
Yeah.
And so like the breads, they're going to have like, it's like one of those things where you don't really realize how deficient your grocery store is until you go into like something like that.
I mean, it sounds like it's massive though. It sounds like it's like the size of a Costco or like a Sam's.
I don't know if it's that big.
It's bigger than like a Trader Joe's or a Publix.
Yeah,
right?
it is bigger.
Bigger than Trader Joe's or Publix.
But like, it's like you'll go shopping there, and again, like let's say it's just I'm just like peanut butters. Mm-hmm. Like I didn't know there was this many healthy quality peanut butters or something. You know? Like,
yeah.
It's really hard to explain.
Okay.
But you can go and get deli sandwiches, right? And you probably won't go to Subway anymore. You know, that type of thing. Or
Ouch.
You know, I know, just kideing. But sodas.
I'll look into like what their expansion plan is.
Yeah,
to see,
I'm telling you, if you want another feather in your cap, and I'm telling you, like especially from like the Northeast, like wherever they've expanded to.
Yeah. If
they haven't come here yet, they're coming. The same thing with like, you know, like a Dick's Sporting Goods. Over time, they've just taken over.
Oh, yeah.
And you can't compete with them. And if Wegmans comes in here, you can't compete with them. And I think price wise, they're reasonably priced because of, you know, volume and stuff. But it will unfortunately puts a lot of grocery stores out of business.
Oh,
they're that
sad.
good. Yeah, I don't know, unless they can keep. Well, I guess cleanliness. Yeah. It's the food, you know.
Yeah.
But once you experience it, you're like, I don't know if I can back off of this.
Yeah, there's like a case study. I can't even remember what it's called now, but like there's a case study of like a Walmart that came into a really small community, and everybody was like, this is great economic development, a Walmart coming into this like small market, but then it ends up putting like all of these small businesses out. So is it actually good economic development if it's putting it,
Yeah.
it's two sides of the coin there.
When I did my MBA, I think that was like we had like a class debate. Like half the class had to be pro Walmart in a small area, and the other class had to be, anti against it. And I don't remember what side I fell on. But that's a tough thing because, of course, you want to support small business.
Yeah, exactly.
But in tough times, people also want to save money.
For sure. Yeah.
It's a tough one.
Yeah, I'll look into their expansion plan.
Yeah.
Like we do a lot of that. We use a CBRE out of Dallas, and they're kind of like they're our retail listing agent that's supposed to go out and like see who is expanding and will they come to Huntsville. So yeah, always possible.
I'm trying to find my next. I want to talk about the music audit.
Oh yeah,
You were involved in that too, right?
I was one of my first things.
Okay, so a company called Sound Diplomacy
Yep.
is hired because presumably there's an idea to bring the amphitheater. The city wants to bring we want to bring more music to the area.
Yeah.
And
so let me back it up. So,
please do.
Yeah. So Sound Diplomacy, they are music policy strategists based out of London.
Mm-hmm.
And what they do is they come into a city or a region and they scope out what they call their music ecosystem. Venues, recording studios, artists, like anything that makes up like their entertainment economy and music economy.
Mm-hmm.
And they they do their initial research, and then they come in there on the ground, and they host a lot of like roundtable events and focus groups and interviews, and they come up with a package of research, and it's research and recommendations of how to preserve and progress your music ecosystem to make music an economic driver. And so we met Shane Shapiro, and that was his photo there. Shane Shapiro is the CEO of Sound Diplomacy.
They called him with red sneakers. He wears his red
sneakers. Yeah. He's very, very, very European. Good dude.
That's a good way
He's
to
awesome.
put it.
He's actually coming in town in a couple months.
Really?
But yeah, so we met him through a connection of a connection out of Nashville. And
But real quick, there was opposition to this idea. So was this is a concession where Mayor Battle or other people like, hey, we want to build an amphitheater. We have this idea to do something, and others like, oh, slow down. We're not ready for this. This is a huge risk. So this is a concession. We're like, okay, well, let's hire a company to come in and help survey this, and then based on the results, we'll figure out what next steps are. Is that accurate?
Well, this is even before the amphitheater was a thing. This was before the amphitheater was a result out of the music audit.
Okay.
So this was a response to a solution to what I like to. So the way I like to say it is the city did a really good job of speaking corporate and bringing all of these awesome companies to come plant in Huntsville. There's not a whole lot of 20-something-year-olds itching to move to Huntsville, Alabama right out of college, right?
Right.
So the city had this challenge where you have all of these jobs coming in the next 5-10 years. And again, this was 5 years. This was 2018 when we started talking to Sound Diplomacy. So this was like right when like Mazda Toyota was announced, right when Polaris was announced. They knew about the FBI. I don't think it was like announced yet, but that was around the same time I met Robert. And they had this thing where like, you got thousands of jobs coming, but not a whole lot of young people wanting to move to Huntsville. What's something that is going to get them to Huntsville? And there was a ton of studies that music was one of the key economic drivers to recruit that next generation of workforce to get people here. So we met Shane Shapiro, and we introduced him to the city head of economic development and Mayor Battle and everybody, and we were like, this is what he does. You guys should do the study with him. So that's when it was presented to city council.
Gotcha.
Of like, this is what a music audit is, and this is what it does, and here's what we want to come out of this. Is to like see how what kind of like music policy you can put in place to help help make music be a full-time job in Huntsville, right? There was a lot of people who were doing music things in Huntsville, but they were an engineer by day and then an artist by night, or they had a studio right in their homes, or they had a recording studio like somewhere else, or like, you know, they were doing things that they were performing live at restaurants and bars, but they were probably only getting paid pennies, and they were probably singing covers, right? So what kind of stuff can you put in place to help with the
make
music
a career out of your passion?
Exactly. And he does a way better job of explaining it, because there's a ton of, if you think about like how many jobs go into you listening to one song on the radio, you know, there's the attorneys, the publishing, the recording, the mixing, the getting it to the radio. You know, there's all these jobs just so you can listen to that one song on the radio. So how can we create jobs out of music in Huntsville? And so they came back with 47 recommendations, and the package. Oh, so let me back it up too. When we first met Shane Shapiro, he was like, we're gonna need kind of a boots on the ground. We're going to need a local consultant to help us with making those connections in the city. And Max pointed to me. He was like, there she is.
There she is.
So I was like, what, me?
And I imagine Shane has a beautiful British accent.
Oh, it's not as thick as you think, but he has a little bit of a twang. And he's a really great speaker, very passionate about what he does. And this was still at the time where I was kind of like, I was still contract working. I was like, I'm not staying in Huntsville.
Okay.
Because I was one of those 20-something-year-olds, you know. I was 23 and wanted to go back to Chicago or wherever. And through this, I ended up being like the local consultant. So I helped them kind of put all the roundtables together. So we had like, I think 9 or 10 different roundtables, and we did them based on categories. So one was like all artists. One was people who do music festivals in Huntsville. One was downtown management. One was all like city officials. And we just talked about the different challenges or opportunities or like strengths, and we, you know, the whole SWOT analysis of the music economy in Huntsville. We hosted them at Tangled String Studios. Shout out to Danny Davis. He is such a gem of a human, and he let us post up in his studio for a week, hosting these interviews and roundtables. I had 2 of the sound diplomacy consultants with me, and they and then at the end of the week, we hosted a town hall where we kind of invited the community to come and hear and be heard about like, what is this music audit? What are these people here to do? What does it mean? And I remember I like booked a room for like 100 people, and like it was standing room only. People were spilling out. There was a ton of people there, which was awesome because, I mean, people were mad. That was not awesome. People came. They might as well have had pitchforks.
Yeah.
But it was great for the city officials to see how passionate the people of Huntsville were about this.
Yeah.
And how important it was to figure this out. So that was kind of where it started.
Well, where's Tangled Strings? Where's that?
Low
located?
Mill.
In Low Mill. Okay.
Yeah. So Tangled String Studios is a small listening room music venue, and he actually closed down the music venue part of his studio, and he also creates. He makes guitars. So on the other side of his studio, he had this woodwork shop where he like makes these very expensive, very beautiful, very elaborate, amazing guitars that sound incredible because he is actually he's a rocket scientist himself. I was trying to think of like his actual title. It was not coming to me.
Aeronautical engineer. Or
yeah,
something.
he's an engineer. He actually worked on the acoustics of the shuttle, like when he was working for NASA.
Yeah,
and he's using that same technology to build these guitars, which is so beautifully Huntsville. I love that. And if you meet him, he's just this like teddy bear of a human. He's awesome. Great person to have on your show, honestly.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Same thing.
Yeah, he is great.
Have you ever heard? This might be a good time to insert this story. I know Wendy's heard it, but have you ever heard the history of the Sydney Opera House in Australia?
I have not.
And it reminds me a little bit of Huntsville of what you're talking about here. So Australia was very keen on being noticed throughout the world for something other than what they, unfortunately, they were like a prison camp for British soldiers and things. And so there's like a sting that they were trying to get erase. It's not just a place that's full of poisonous animals, because everything is poisonous. If it bites you, you die, right? It's like, so maybe not the most hospitable place unless you're on the ocean. But they were, and this is like in the 50s, 40s or I think it was in the 50s, maybe even the 60s, and they really, really wanted to just be known on the world stage. So that's when they came up with this idea of, let's do something in the arts. Let's build an opera house, but let's make it so different architecturally that it will stand on its own. It'll just be a spectacle, and everyone will know when you see this building, that's the Sydney Opera House.
That's awesome.
And it launched into, unfortunately, and like they did a whole worldwide contest for the design, and I believe he was from Norway. But the thing was, this architect did this, what it is now, what it looks like now, but nothing had ever been engineered to handle the shell roofs and all this stuff. Like all of that had to get, the technology for it was developed as they like launched into this.
Oh, wow.
So it was supposed to be like 7 million and take, I want to say 3 years to build. It turned out to be like 107 million, and it took them 25 years to build. Oh my
gosh.
So it almost bankrupted the province of New South Wales.
Wow.
It was bad. It was really, really bad. The architect was like, get out of our country, never come back, because you kind of caused this problem. And
wow.
But then ultimately, I was thinking about the acoustics, because he was really bummed. And I think they invited him back later. He did not get invited, I believe, if I have the story right, for like the grand opening, but he was able to come back later. He was welcomed back in the country, but there was very hostile feelings towards him and how much it was costing them. And they had to they created like a socket system. So in the wind, those little shell roofs, if you can picture it in your mind, they when it sways, there's like a whole socket arm that absorbs that. And so it just took a while to invent that. But he was really bummed because in the interior of it, there's like some sort of like Brazilian wood that is like the best wood for like acoustics, and that's what's in the interior of it. So anybody who's ever played in the opera house, it's like if you're a musician, you want to play there because of the acoustics.
It sounds awesome.
And it's, even though it was so awesome of like, the architectural and the exterior had never been done, the guy was really upset because they kind of like they used him enough to get the structure in place, and then they banished him from the country, lack of a better term. And then they started on the interior with like a different person, but that wood is I've never heard a concert in there. I've been in there. It is like it's probably like your friend.
Wow,
Tangled Strings,
awesome.
Right? That has some of the science behind it. And
the acoustics.
The acoustics are amazing.
Insane. I mean, I remember when we were doing the design strip for the amphitheater. The initial design charrette event. We had a group of architects that we invited. And one of them that was on the team was the acoustics engineer. And we were like, maybe sit this one out. We'll bring you in when it's closer to time when we actually have like the building designed. And he ended up coming anyways, and it ended up being, we definitely needed him. He came with a report like this big. It was huge. And the report of how to angle the rooftop of the amphitheater and which way the winds come and the sun and which way the clouds will carry the bass if like there's a artist. And we ended up like totally shifting the direction of which way the amphitheater was facing. So yeah, that stuff is really interesting and very important.
Here it is under construction.
Oh my gosh.
I believe that's you.
That is me.
It's hard to tell with the hard hat and the neon colored vest, but I'm
That's
sure
my
you
uniform.
have a camera roll and then some of the shots, right? But
Totally.
this is one I picked up from your Instagram.
I have
Under
one
construction.
that like we're standing in the woods that this amphitheater is now in. You know, we were standing there with the team. Ben Lovett, who's the founder of TVG, when we were recruiting him to operate this amphitheater, we were standing in the woods and like you could barely hear the traffic that was going by Research Park Boulevard.
Really?
So that was it's just the progression.
And
oh
then
my gosh.
there you are when it's done.
One
I'm
of the-
assuming.
Yeah.
And or it's under maybe in final phase.
This was media day of like right before the opening of the amphitheater.
It kind of, for some reason, like if I was just to like just glance at that and look away, it kind of reminds me of like the LA Coliseum. Which is a bowl, just with the architecture at the top.
Totally. Yeah. We had a bunch of photos of a bunch of different coliseums on the walls when we were.
Oops! Don't look at that. That's a surprise.
My Hawaii trip. Yeah. This was heavily. I remember the inspiration behind the design of the amphitheater was it was a Coliseum in Verona, Italy, was one of the main. I love looking back at the photos of that design charrette and seeing there's a piece of paper. I think it's also in that Instagram post, but there's a piece of paper that said all the goals of what they wanted the amphitheater to be. And it was like timeless, one of a kind, experiential, don't play the game. And so, full circle moment when you're standing at a Dave Matthews Band concert, right? Watching as a dad took his son to his first concert, and they're like taking selfies at the top of the bowl. Like I was sobbing that show, just like thinking about like pulling up those photos. And I'm like, it's really cool to be part of the process from the very beginning of like just an idea. And to go back to the audit, that was like one of the first recommendations was like, if you're going to build an amphitheater, do it with a kick-ass group and build a kick-ass venue. Because originally the venue that we had placed on the master plan of MidCity was like this shed in a field type amphitheater, your classic, just a stage in front of a grassy lawn. And we were talking to Live Nation at the time to operate the amphitheater. And so the audit said, one of the recommendations was don't go with Live Nation because they already control all the venues in the Southeast. So if somebody big is coming on tour, like a Dave Matthews, they're not going to take them to Huntsville, Alabama. They're going to take them to any of these larger markets that surround us. Nashville, Chattanooga, Birmingham, Atlanta, Memphis, New Orleans,
Yeah.
So you're going to have, 10 shows, 16 big shows a year, and it's going to sit empty the rest of the time. Similar to how, Oak Mountain Amphitheater and Tuscaloosa Amphitheater, like those sit empty. So why build something so extravagant and with taxpayer dollars if like the taxpayers aren't even going to be able to use it? So that's when enter Ben Lovett and the TVG crew to operate the amphitheater as an independent operator. So they can pull from Live Nation AEG tours, both, and they program the amphitheater 200 plus days a year with community events, with private events. So it's way better than what it would have been had we not done the music audit.
Yeah, shout out to my boy Eric Gonzalez Tablada. He's the president of Nowcom.
Yeah.
You know him?
Yeah, I do.
And he invited us, Wendy and I went to the Winter Wonderland.
Nice.
And so it was a Nowcom event, but they had the ice skating rink and then the snow igloos things. The igloos?
Oh, yeah.
Right? You can kind of go in and try to warm. It was a cold night.
Eric's awesome.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
He is a good dude.
Shout out, Eric.
Shout out to you, Eric.
Seems like you know everybody I know because you've been here a lot longer.
I do.
And he's a Huntsville native.
He is a Huntsville native. Yeah, I know Eric pretty well. He's a good dude.
But so what are some of the other notable recommendations? So one of the 47 is, hey, you should build a really kick-ass amphitheater. That's cool. What were some other ones that have been implemented that maybe people don't realize because it gets overshadowed by the amphitheater?
For sure. So one of the first things that they did was establish a music board for the city of Huntsville.
Okay.
So you have, I think it's 5 or 6 people who represent either people who are in the music industry or like either music education or they are an artist. And they they're in charge of implementing the recommendations of the music audit.
Okay.
Or like holding the city accountable to do so. So they established the music board. I think they've gone through a couple different. They're on terms. So some of them are on 1-year terms, 2-year terms, and they each represent like a different industry in the music industry, and then also hire a music officer. So Matt Mandrella was hired as the Huntsville City music officer last year, and he's awesome too. Shout out Matt if you get a chance to have him on your podcast. He's like twice as tall as me, but he's super cool.
Oh, I've seen. I think I saw a photo with him and you, and I was wondering like who he was.
Yeah, he's an awesome dude. They did a large, pretty robust search hunt for who was going to be this music officer. They had a ton of bless you. They had a ton of applicants. Bless you. They had a ton of applicants from all over the states. I think they even had like as far as like Hawaii apply for this position. Matt is such a good person for this job, and he comes with a great perspective. He spent a large portion of his, I'm not going to spoil it, but he spent a large portion of his career in Austin and in Memphis. So comes with a lot of great music industry business experience. He knows a lot of awesome people. So he's spent the last year kind of getting to know what's happening here, what has tried to happen and get done, and what hasn't gotten done, and why, and meet all the players, and now he's working on okay, let's get to work and get some awesome things here in Huntsville. Yeah. So he'd be a good person to have on the show for sure. I'm just giving you recommendations.
Well, this is good, and that's
anybody but me.
Okay, so let me ask you this: like, so we've talked about the music audit. That's huge. Yep. Trader Joe's. That's huge.
It's awesome.
The camp. Huge, right? You've had some really awesome things, and credit to Max to say, hey, Nadia's got it. Yeah. And maybe that was just, part of his evil plan to make sure you were going to go nowhere, right? Keep loading her up on tasks.
He actually said that. He was like, my job was my plan was to make you so busy you didn't have time to think about leaving.
So I'm going to show you a picture here, and I'm not sure if this has happened yet or not, but I believe this is a speaking panel. Is this come and gone, or
yeah, those are photos from the event. I was sitting like right there.
You were?
Yeah.
Okay. And I just didn't see a date on there. I have to wear glasses, and I can't see it. But you were on the panel.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about the kind of. I also think you've spoken at like the universities to the kids.
Yeah.
The UAH or someone's had you by, right? Or NAM. Talk about that and kind of what is at an event like this. What is it that you're sharing? Is it lessons learned? Because I know that when the Downtown Huntsville, when I interviewed Chad, he was episode 8. That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
But he had talked about where they went up to Chattanooga to check out their downtown, right? Or that's what you do in downtowns. You go check out other downtowns of similar size cities. What are they doing?
Get inspiration.
Get some inspiration.
Totally.
Get some ideas. So when you go to something like Nashville now, what's the message that you bring?
Yeah. So that event was my good friend Robert Looper, who's in the middle there with the mic. He launched this thing called City Now Next and Nashville Now Next, where it's a resource for the commercial real estate industry. And the article I was talking about earlier that was well written about Joe Davis Stadium is actually his.
Okay.
So he does a really good job of usually when I put out a press release about a new project, journalists will kind of just flip it and just write exactly what is on the press release kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Some of them will do a deeper dive and dig into asking more questions about the project or something. But I love Robert's pieces because he'll take one of our renderings and take that exact photo and do this slider of what's before and after of what we're building. And he just writes the pieces so well. So he had started Nashville Now Next last year and was kind of transitioning into City Now Next because he's now exploring the development world in other cities. He saw that a lot of Nashville developers were coming to Huntsville, and so he started poking into Huntsville developers, and I got connected with him. And I love sending him like stuff that like we're doing because again, he's just awesome. But he had a launch event for City Now Next and had me come and represent. I was representing Huntsville development, which is big. Those are some big shoes to fill. But there was me, there was a Chattanooga developer, and then there was like 3 people who are in the commercial real estate industry in Nashville who spoke. And that one is I kind of your original question. I gauge what the audience kind of wants to hear, like I was mentioning to you earlier, usually when I do these speeches or like speaking engagements, I'm talking a lot about MidCity. It's like almost muscle memory at one point of just like I know exactly kind of like the order of events to kind of talk about MidCity. But this one is a little bit more about me, which I'm not so used to. That one was a little bit more broadly Huntsville. When I'm speaking to students, they kind of want to know more about like, okay, how like about the industry and like what it's like to be a woman in the commercial real estate industry and how to get into the industry, how I got into the industry.
We tell those students, all you got to do is have your own jam.
That's right. That's where it starts.
Sell tickets.
No, I'll tell you a quick story. I went and spoke to a UAH class, and I was telling them that in one of my classes in college, it was a digital marketing class, and he assigned us all of his assignments were very very hands-on. Like one of our very first assignments was to build out our LinkedIn page, and he had like a checklist of things that we had to do in order to like pass the project. And he had an extra credit assignment that you had to find one or two alumni of Auburn that you like aspire to have their job or their career or whatever, and message them on LinkedIn and say, hey, I'm a student at Auburn. I love what you do. I find it very inspiring. I have an extra credit assignment to interview somebody in this role and like get an interview with them. And so I love that so much. I did my extra credit assignments, but I also ended up doing it like 10 more times and just like message people telling them that it was for an assignment. And people are so willing to like talk to students, right? So I would just like message people and say, hey, I have this assignment to interview somebody that I really love their career, like, or their job. Can you talk to me? And like, I ended up making, some good connections that way. I leave that speaking engagement at UAH, and I got a LinkedIn message from one of the students that was like, hi, Nadia, I really love what you do in Huntsville, and I have an assignment for a class to interview somebody in this industry.
Oh my gosh.
I thought it was so cute. So yeah.
You're on the other side of it now.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was cool. A nice little full circle moment. But yeah, it kind of just depends on the audience, right? What they want to hear. I really I have a more casual speak, so I talk to students very well. But sometimes I remember when the music audit was going on, I was invited to speak at Rotary, and I was 23, 24 at the time, like speaking to all of the Huntsville execs of like Huntsville and Madison. So that was very intimidating. I was like, they don't want to. And I remember early in my career too, and shout out to Max on this. This was really cool. He, I every time like somebody would say, hey, like we really want to hear from somebody at MidCity, he would like push me in front, and I'd be like, Max, they want to talk to the developer. They don't want to talk to like, little old me. And they're like, no. He's like, no, I want RCP to be represented by a young woman of color rather than just another old white man in real estate. And he was really awesome about that, because that really helped me get more comfortable with public speaking.
Yeah.
It really, he also hates public speaking. Like, side note, he does not speak at any of his own groundbreakings. But just a really cool like note that he recognizes that, the industry is full of older white men. And so he wanted to put me up front. So it's kind of cool that I got to have that opportunity.
Yeah, it reminds me of my episode 3 guest is Morgan Vick. and at the time she was working for this company Active 8, and so I worked for Mantech, and I went on the chamber website and I said, okay, I need to find a small business to do a commercial, because I was going to sponsor a Pandas game, and as part of our promotional package, we get to show a 30-minute or 30-second video on the Jumbotron, right? On the scoreboard during the game. And in my role, we're a Virginia-based company. I thought, well, we don't have anything that's just Huntsville. I don't want to run a commercial that we would run on social media now where the footage is not from Huntsville. So I said, what I want to do is, you give me some money. I'm going to hire a small company. We belong to the chamber. We'll hire, and I don't remember. I think just cold called them.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I said, hey, I need you to create a 30-second commercial, whatever we got to do, come and do different shoots with me and my people here, and get us in different shots around the city, whatever, but I'm going to leave it up to you all. You guys are the experts. So that, interestingly, kind of working with two white guys and some of their account managers. But then ultimately I said, well, hey, I'm also starting a podcast. Bill Nyland, shout out to Bill Nyland. I'd like to interview you. He said, don't interview me. I want you to have Morgan on. It'll be a good opportunity for her. She's kind of starting out her career in account management.
That's awesome.
And it was really cool because her accounts were like First Stop. I mean, I've had people on from First Stop where they kind of meet the homeless where they're at. And then Ace Fiber in Mississippi, where bringing just fiber optics and just bringing internet to a town like transforms the town and brings jobs and a better quality of life. And she was just so excited, I think. And she was a little nervous, but it's just Bill's like, I want her to get used to this and kind of be out in the front of speaking on behalf of our accounts, right? Yeah. And it's really been cool just to follow them. She's moved on to another company, but as I now have like this interest in those clients that we talked about in episode 3, which was forever ago, and didn't look like it does in here right now.
It's evolved. It's grown up.
Yeah, but it was really, awesome. I thought about that and just what a cool experience for her.
For sure. Yeah, it's really empowering. You're empowering people that they're established in their career, right? So it really put me out front. Kind of made me the one of the faces of RCP, which is again big shoes to fill, but it's been really cool. Yeah, I can't even remember what my very first. I'm trying to think of what my first speaking engagement was, but
I've always found I get more nervous if it's a small intimate gathering, and the eyeballs you can let's say
really?
If there's a semicircle of 10 people versus just a big broad audience where it's kind of abstract.
Oh, man.
I don't seem to get as nervous.
I like the smaller.
You like
groups.
the smaller?
I like the smaller groups because I like getting the feedback. When you're in a big crowd.
That's true. Get some head nods.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know exactly how they're feeling about it, but when I'm in a small group, I like to point people out and ask them direct questions and make it more like a conversation.
You look like you're not paying attention, so yeah, I got a question
literally.
for you.
Or I'll ask a question and make a raise hand type of question in the audience type of thing. But I remember when if I'm speaking to a bigger group, I would write out my speech. When I spoke to Rotary, I literally had my entire speech written out, and I kind of just read it so I didn't have to look at them. But now I
you have an outline.
I just it's all in the head.
Yeah, that's, if you've noticed, that's kind of the way I do my shows. I do enough of research. I have kind of an outline, bounce around,
Oh yeah.
But I would be far more. I don't know. It's situational.
Sure.
Right. It's just situational
for sure. And whoever you're talking to. That's why you say what do I talk about when I'm talking to an audience? It just depends on the audience.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Do you want to do some Name That Tune?
Oh, no, not really.
Well, let's.
I feel like I'm going to be terrible at this.
Well, let me set it up first.
Oh gosh.
And this goes back to, I brought up my buddy Cheyenne for a reason.
Okay.
So you're younger than me, and I feel
Barely.
Obviously the younger generation has had access to a far more musical artists.
Yeah.
Through the internet, through all these different musical services, right? So somebody like me, I kind of grew up, and we had the radio, and we're here in the top 40 with Casey Kasem or whoever was ripping off the top 40 every week. and you get some tapes and some CDs, but it was only what was in the store.
Right.
And I guess depends on your genres and stuff. And there might have been some things somehow we were seemingly, I think, more unaware of other possibilities.
Yeah.
So then I'll never forget. So now we fast forward. I met him when he had a beard when he was 12, right? We're playing baseball. And now we're seniors in high school. We're in this like English class, creative writing. And we had to bring in like a song that had meaning or something like that. And I don't know, a lot of us were just doing the typical, this AC/DC song or this Run DMC song, all these things that we all kind of grew up and they were just like hits. Mm-hmm. Have you ever heard of the band Arrested Development? There's a song like
Isn't there a show called Arrested Development?
Yeah, there is, but there's a band, kind of a hip hop-ish group. Okay. It's kind of hard to explain. They kind of fall in this interesting genre, but they had this song. There's a song called Tennessee. Okay. That was really popular. And then there's a song called Mr. Wendell. And I guess I could play it for you, but we had all heard the popular radio, like I think Tennessee was on the radio, and I think this other one, People Every Day. Yeah. There was like just those two. And so he, it's like somehow it comes around to him, and I guess it was like surprising of what he chose, but he plays this song, Mr. Wendell, and it like stopped me in my tracks. And it was like, for the first time, someone was kind of exposing me. And even if I had like a tape, like a Phil Collins tape, I probably never listened to the B-side. I only would listen to like the popular stuff. Right. And I was like one of those kids. So he is kind of exposing us to like some other track that was not really well known. I think it became more of a cult classic later. And it just was like this memorable moment of like, everyone in the class like had never really thought of these like the lyrics. I think it's kind of like about a homeless man and stuff, and don't overlook the Mr. Wendells. And it was just like we had this moment as a class at the hands of my buddy Cheyenne. And so yesterday I did forget to do the homework assignment on the personality test.
Oh, you didn't figure out what Enneagram you are?
No, I didn't, but I will. But I did listen to several of the artists.
Oh wow, which ones?
I don't want to say Cassius Clay. It's not
Cautious Clay.
Cautious Clay.
Yeah.
They're hard names to pronounce. Tom Misch.
Tom Misch.
Listen to him.
That's awesome.
And then the one that's
one of my favorites.
What's the other?
Green Tea Pang.
Green Tea Pang. So these are all things I've never heard of. Okay. Right. And I'm like thankful that you're exposing me to like these new artists, and that's cool.
Cool.
Right. And I realize how like completely ignorant I am of like the world that goes on out there, but it's probably a function of my age. So I wanna try and name that tune with you, and I've done this before with someone where I'm gonna pull up Cautious Clay.
Oh gosh.
On Spotify. Okay. And we're just gonna go off Cautious Clay radio. Oh. So it should be things that fall into that genre.
Okay.
And we'll see how you do.
I'm not gonna be good at this.
But I got to set it up 1 second. Where's my phone? Here it is.
I do love like the discovery. Like honestly, I discovered, and like to your point, you grew up with like CDs and cassettes, right? Yeah. And you have like a very limited library of music. I grew up with like LimeWire, and then you get into
Kazaa.
Yeah, Kazaa, and then obviously Spotify. So I've got like libraries on libraries of music. But now I don't know how old y'all's kids are, but like the kids now like know clips of a ton of songs because of like TikTok. Yeah. They know like 15 seconds of a song because they hear it on TikTok. And honestly, I found Green Tea Peng on through like a content creator on TikTok.
Really?
Yeah. I love to find out new music.
He reminds me, there's kind of like a jazz component to him, right? Or am I thinking of Green Tea Peng?
Yeah, no, I could see that. Yeah, a little bit.
I'll give you a band. I want you to go back. There was a band called Diggable Planets.
Okay.
In the early 90s. And
Diggable Planets.
I mean, they may have had an album. I don't even know if their stuff was... one song may have made it on the radio. But I want you to listen to Diggable Planets.
Okay.
And there was I think it was the combination of Cautious Clay and maybe Green Tea Peng.
Okay.
That I'm like, huh. I'm like, okay. And the other thing I liked about Cautious Clay, I'm listening to him sing, and I'm also listening to, I'm not like a huge music guy, although I think as I get older, I pay attention more, or I'm starting to appreciate it more. or I think, man, this is so versatile where you could probably put all kinds of different like melodies and stuff behind what he's saying.
Yeah.
Where it kind of can go down like the techno route. It could go this route.
Yeah.
And it would still fit.
For sure.
You know?
There's actually an awesome remixes album of a lot of Cautious Clay's songs, but like more electronic, more
Really?
like remixed. Yeah, it's good.
Okay, so we're going to see how we do here.
I'm nervous.
Okay, so we're going with Cautious Clay. And I wonder if all the
This is
people who
radio.
watch this are going to be like me, like, who? Right?
Okay.
But there may be some that are like you, like, oh, yeah, it's one of my favorite people. So just stop me if you know the title or artist. Nothing yet?
Nothing yet.
What happened?
It's not playing.
All right, hold on. Let's pick a different song here. Hold on.
Immediately, I want to say, was that Remy Wolf? No.
No.
Oh. I need to hear their voice. I've never even heard this song.
Okay, it's Queen by the Magic City Hippies.
Nope.
Is that
not
too
familiar.
obscure for you?
Yeah, not familiar.
Okay, how about this one?
Too obscure.
This is a remix, by the way.
Oh.
You know what's weird? It's like pausing on me. I may have to just abandon this segment.
Oh, this is Cautious Clay.
Yay, you got one.
But it's not. Which one is this? This is This isn't Wildfire, is it?
You just said the title.
I don't know.
Silos.
Silos. Oh, his voice is amazing. I have to tell you, you know who Billy Reed is, the fashion designer?
Yeah.
Okay, so Billy Reed is a famous, big, awesome fashion designer, and his flagship store is actually in Florence, Alabama, which is like an hour away from here.
Mm-hmm.
And the way I found Cautious Clay was through Billy Reed's festival called Shindig.
Okay.
He used to do these festivals that was like a mix of like music and fashion and sports in Muscle Shoals, Alabama.
Yeah.
Ton of people from like New York and LA would come to little old Muscle Shoals, Alabama for this festival called Shindig. And Cautious Clay that year that I went was the artist performing during like the fashion show. So
wow.
that's how I found him.
Okay, I'm gonna change it up.
Okay. Is this Britney Spears? Christina Aguilera? No? Oh my gosh.
You'll get it.
I'm coming up. Oh, Pink.
Get the party started. Pink.
Pink.
Okay, well, a little old school.
She's going to listen to this and hear that. Oh.
So something like this is true name that tune where
Yeah.
this is so iconically unique. And it's just a matter of how
I could
fast.
sing that better than I could actually name who it is. Who is this?
That's a man's voice.
That is a man's voice. Couldn't tell you who it is. It's so bad.
So it's the Bee Gees.
Oh.
And everybody knows this. Staying Alive.
That's right. Yeah.
And I got to hear him say it one time.
Here it is.
Do you do karaoke?
I recently got into karaoke.
Did you?
Last year.
What's your jam? Like, what's your best song?
Ooh. I crush it on Unwritten by Natasha Bedingfield.
Okay.
It's a great crowd pleaser, because karaoke's all. I'm not a good singer, so like it's all about like how you get the crowd involved.
Mm-hmm.
So Unwritten's a great one. People get so into that. But if I'm going for like, wow, did she just do that? I go with "Love the Way You Lie" by Eminem and Rihanna.
Yeah.
But I'm Eminem, and
Okay.
I find a guy to be Rihanna because they have like 5 words to say the entire time, and it's easy for them to like pick it up. So, but I can rap all of Eminem's parts.
Okay. Good for you.
Those are my two go-to karaoke songs.
And then let's see how she does with this.
Oh. You can dance. You can. Yeah. What is this one?
It's an
Can you hear
ABBA.
this?
ABBA song.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know if you could hear it or not.
You can't even hear it, right?
Having the time of your life. Zoom in.
Yeah. Here's
Dancing Queen. There you go.
okay, I'm gonna do one more.
I'm so bad at this game.
It's all right.
Did you listen to any of the house music that I put on there?
No.
Oh, man.
Well, maybe. And I did want to talk to you about the DJ thing. Like, I've noticed that because like DJ Jazzy Jeff, like who was with Will Smith back in the day, he's starting to do live stuff now.
Really?
Yeah,
I
I've
didn't
seen
know
him.
that.
I'm like on YouTube, and it's in the feed, and he's like just doing some party
Yeah.
somewhere, and he's got like 400 viewers. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
And when I was you had mentioned the conference earlier, when I went to Oracle Cloud in at the Venetian in October, they had like a DJ,
Yeah. it's a
which
big
is
thing
weird.
right
It
now.
was kind of a weird thing because most of the people there, they're a bunch of nerds. I don't know, like a bunch of database developers,
Not DJ kind of guys.
yeah, like so it's kind of weird. We're like, I don't know if that's the smartest idea, but
Interesting,
but it was
yeah.
still cool that they actually had like a DJ with the turntables,
Yeah.
up there.
You should
doing their thing.
watch the Coachella documentary
Okay.
because there's a point in the documentary where they talk about how like having a DJ be like a headlining artist or like one of the big artists on stage because they're not much of like a performer, right? But they're
Right.
like having a DJ as like the main stage artist, how that was like such a novel idea at the time. And now it's like they're headlining huge, there's entire music festivals based around
Really?
electronic music and DJ. Yeah.
Now, is that something? Are you guys looking to do another music festival, or are you already involved and I'm just unaware? As far as Huntsville.
The city's trying to get a big music festival to come to Huntsville. Yeah, because I don't know,
Okay.
you weren't here.
Well,
but-
Panoply, right?
yeah, it's not
but-
the same.
Okay.
There used to be a music festival here called Big Spring Jam.
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah, it was awesome.
With just
you
lack
had,
of
like-
support.
I don't remember why they killed it off. I think the like people who were putting it on were just like over it. I'm not sure. I can't even remember what year it stopped, but that was I mean, you had people like I saw The Fray and Taylor Swift
wow.
and who else? There was all these like artists that before they like got big, they played at Big Spring Jam in Huntsville, Alabama.
I don't know if you know Third Eye Blind.
Oh yeah,
They're coming March 13th to
Yeah.
the
concert hall, though, right?
Yeah.
It's not much of a seating type
What-
artist.
I think
right?
you can. I have never been to a Third Eye Blind concert, but
My boss is at Max is going to that, so look out
Really?
for me.
that's a Monday.
Yeah, he was like, it's at the concert hall, which is like an all seating.
Yeah.
There's all seats, So interesting. But yeah, I'm excited that they're coming. That's
They
awesome.
might seat 1,000 in there, maybe, if that.
Yeah, Highly Suspect was here a couple weekends ago, and they sold out Mars, which is like 1,500 people standing.
Okay.
That's-
I was looking for a song. I think it was called "Drown" or something. I can't remember if it was them or the Smashing Pumpkins. That was going to tell you that I'm too scared to do karaoke. Although I guess we did like not what's the game, not like Guitar Hero, but there was there's Guitar Hero, and then there was like the audio, like the
I know what you-
karaoke version.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I know what you're talking about.
Now with that, I had no like reservations.
Sure.
And
just
I
in the
could I would
comfort of
do
your own home.
yeah, just do the karaoke.
I was not a karaoke person, but last year I got into karaoke. I actually made a list of like my top favorite moments of 2022.
Yeah.
And the place I like, how I got into karaoke was one of them.
That's awesome. I'll have to come and watch you.
It's fun. It's a good time. I actually, I'm not getting into that. Never mind. Okay, I'll say it
Maybe
anyways.
not even.
Well, the way I got into karaoke was through our one of the general contractors that we work with, Arco Murray. They're just, it's been awesome to like work with them. And, you know, I'm sure you know that when you have people like contractors that you work with that are great to work with, it makes your job so much easier and more fun too. So they've been great to work with. And last year I went to Chicago where they're based for a meeting or something. And we all end up going out. They're a big karaoke group. They do karaoke all the time. And they were sending off somebody who was moving to their Miami office, and we went to karaoke that night. And that was the first time that I ever did the Way You Lie in front of everybody. And that's where I like fell in love with karaoke. So we recently did a groundbreaking event in January, I think it was. What month are we in? Yeah, January. And Arco Murray's on this project with us. And so we did the groundbreaking event, did the whole ceremony and like formal stuff. And then we did the, you know, nice dinner with all the execs that were in town, our investors. We did a nice dinner at Cotton Row. And then I told everybody that I rented out Miller's, the karaoke bar downtown. So everybody that was like in our office that was here from Arco Murray or like in town for the groundbreaking event, I was like 9 p.m. Miller's, everybody come. And it was so much fun just to see like everybody that you work with kind of like let loose and get up there, and fun to see like who sings what. One of our investors ended up getting up there and singing, so that was hilarious and awesome. And the next day, everybody was like,
"Did that just happen?"
Yeah, it was so fun. So yeah, karaoke, Miller's. Let's go sometime. You guys want to go?
Where's
sometime?
Miller's again?
Downtown. It's, on what road is that?
Like Holmes or Washington?
It's not Holmes. Washington,
Clinton?
probably. I don't know. It's right in front of Martin's. That's really bad that I don't know.
I know what you're talking about. Okay, it's off the square.
Road is, yeah, it's right off the square.
Okay. Well, it's been a pleasure having you.
It's been a pleasure being here.
I think I learned a lot. I think people are going to learn a lot about all that went into so many things that are over at MidCity and the camp and that audit, which I think is so cool. And I think it is just amazing that you get to attach yourself. Like you put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears and hard work, right, into things that we all enjoy.
Yeah, thanks. So. It's been honestly a blessing to have had this job for the last 5 years, and cool to have a hand in like the changing of the cultural landscape in Huntsville. Yeah. So excited to make this place a cooler place to live for everyone. And if you ever want to do like a off the road, like not in studio show, we can do a little tour of MidCity for a show.
Yeah, I have.
It's a lot of red dirt right now.
Right through that door there, I have more than enough equipment that I don't need to take any of this out.
Oh.
And I could do like a smaller setup.
Awesome. Yeah, you could do a live show from the camp.
Yeah, we could. And I look forward to having you on again.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Because I can't wait to see. Go to the website. Is it rcpcompanies.com?
rcpcompanies.com.
There's a lot of cool projects on there.
explorethecamp.com. Yeah.
It's a great website. It's very informative, good color. It's very simple to navigate.
Cool. Thank you.
So, all the best to you and continued success in whatever your next promotion is. We'll be excited.
Thank you so much.
All right. Take care, Nadia.
Thanks.